Smells like lavender. Cleans like Clorox. And feels like...
All right, that could go on for a while. Experience the long-lasting freshness of Clorox Scentiva. Available in Clorox Scentiva Lavender Scented Bleach. Use as directed.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injuries and additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
American soccer fans, welcome to episode 156 of the USA Soccer Cast. We are bringing you everything about the U.S. national teams, the players, the leagues, and everything else that impacts the game of soccer in these United States. I'm Donald Wine. We start on the women's side with women's national team. They are just coming off an international window with matches against China and Jamaica. And I just want to go through what happened in those matches and kind of get some of the answers, talk about some of the answers of the players who could be a part of this core moving forward. The U.S. first taking on China. That final score, 3-0, with goals by Kat Macario, Sam Coffey, and Lindsay Heaps. And then you had the game against Jamaica in St. Louis. That final score, 4-0 to the United States. Ali Sentner had 2 goals. Lynn Biendolo had 2 goals, which I thought was a great showing by the United States. I think overall, this camp was a really good camp for the United States women's national team. As I mentioned, I think we got some clarity on some of the players who have started to stand out amongst the pack as players that could be part of this core as we move further into this World Cup cycle and as we prepare for World Cup qualifying next year. Now, who among them performed the best? Let's start with Valentellis Joyce. In my mind, I've seen enough. She should be the number 1 goalkeeper. It's funny, she didn't really have to do much in these games because there wasn't a lot of offense coming at her on the part of China or Jamaica, but she did well with what she had. She was able to link well with Naomi Girma and link well with the defenders and really make it where she was able to show that she could keep a clean sheet. And the fact that she kept clean sheets in both matches leads me to believe that she is the leader in the clubhouse when it comes to this race to replace Alyssa Nair as the number 1. I mentioned Naomi Girma. What else can you say about her other than I think she should have the armband? Captain Girma sounds great to me. And you could tell how much this team missed her when she was absent for these camps so far this year. This was her first camp since she moved to Chelsea. And you could just tell that everyone on the field is more calm when number 4 Naomi Girma is on the field with them. And I think that speaks loudly about how much this team is organized around her being the quarterback of the entire offense, of the defense. She can command where people are. She can cover so much ground. And it makes sense that she might be one of the best players that this world has ever seen. She could go down that. That's not hyperbole. That she could be arguably the greatest women's player when it's all said and done. She has a long way to go in her career, but right now she is showing those tools that make her indispensable for both club and country. And I'm glad she's on our team. This is a great development that she has been able to come along so well. And again, she looked like a veteran out there, even though she's still very, very young. Ali Sentner had a great camp. Wow. Like with Triple Espresso being out, the question was who was going to try and score some of these goals. And Ali Sentner said, me, I'll do it. And she nagged braced against Jamaica and I thought looked great when she was on the field. I'm really impressed with how she is progressing so far in her young career. I'm really excited to see her growth, both in the NWSL and for the national team. But I'd call her back in the fall when you need that depth of forward as we start to get the triple espresso trio back onto the field one by one. Ali Sintner is a great way to bridge that gap. Lynn Biandolo, another person, a veteran. She gets 2 goals against Jamaica. And again, when she's on the field, the forwards feel more at ease that they can do what they need to do. She can play every position up front. She can receive the ball. She can be a false nine. She can go forward as a full 10. She can be on the wing. And her versatility allows the team to try stuff. And I think even on the defensive end with the high press, very few people in our player pool are better than Lynn Biandolo at the high press. And I really like the fact that she's able to come on, bring that energy, whether she starts or whether she comes off the bench, she's able to be a force when she's on the field. And this just solidified it. I was already sold on her, but this just solidified that we need that veteran presence, and Lynn Biandolo is that veteran presence. Sam Coffey had a great camp, I thought. And again, I'm saying this about a lot of players, but Sam Coffey really showed herself to be someone who can generate offense, but also track back on defense and keep the midfield controlling the game. She's she's much quicker than honestly than she was about a year ago. It felt like she was a little bit slower. Maybe it was because of how the defense was shaped under Vlatko and Donoski, and maybe that has been opened up under Emma Hayes. But I've seen her be able to track and cover a ton of ground, and again be more assertive on the offensive end. And of course, she scores the goal against China, but also was active on the offensive end against Jamaica. Really liked how she played in this camp. And then finally, Katarina Macario, the young, wily veteran. Like, how does that work? She's still young. She's coming off of this injury that kept her basically off the field for 2 years, but comes back and scores her first goal in the first few minutes of the game. Like, she didn't miss a beat. And I'm so happy to see her back. We have so many options with her in the lineup. Honestly, when we get Triple Espresso back, the idea will be how to get Kat behind those three to even wreak more havoc on opposing defenses, because again, her creativity is special. It's a special talent that she has, and it was super great to see her thrive in this camp with so many different moving new pieces around her. She was the glue up front that was able to keep everybody together, and of course, they were able to try some stuff, and her creativity helps make that happen. Now, I've talked about some of the players who I thought performed very well. Let's talk about some of the players who I think didn't play well. And I won't get too deep into the weeds in this, but it goes to a theme. Lindsay Heaps, the goal notwithstanding, she didn't feature much in the second game, but it felt like there was a lag about her game. And she was in the right place at the right time on the goal. Michelle Cooper with a great cross in and to find her. But otherwise, I felt like she was trying or maybe doing too much. And I'm not sure what the reason for that was. Olivia Moultrie is a young player who I thought did not necessarily make an impression and take advantage of the opportunity that she has for people to realize that, yes, this player who was the youngest player to ever step foot in the National Women's Soccer League when she started, who kind of paved the way for other young players under the age of 18 and maybe even under 16 really to play, she hasn't quite progressed at the same rate as her counterparts. And I think that's where she needs to figure out a way to do well, whether that's, again, when she gets to the point where she can move away from Portland, but finding a situation where she's able to really expand and develop her talent, I think, is key for her if she wants to remain a part of the system. But at least in my opinion, I'm not the coach, I'm not Emma Hayes, but she didn't show enough for me to show that she should be a part of this moving core, this core that continues to grow by the day. Emily Sonnet, I've said about Emily Sandé before that it feels like she's a deer in headlights whenever she receives the ball, which is really weird for a veteran and one that's been around the national team for as long as she has. But she has to figure out how to not be that deer in headlights whenever the ball comes to her feet. And I think some of the impatience that she may show or the freaking out that she displays when she is on the ball and the defender's coming towards her leads to some mistakes and it leads to some turnovers, which we can't have when we have the ball in our own defensive third. She has to be better about finding passes moving forward and getting our creative midfielders involved. And I think that is something that I hope that she can improve, because I think she will be a part of this core, but she has to play a lot better. And I think we've seen that from her. She needs to go out and show it. And finally, overall, I think the game against Jamaica was starkly different from the game against China in the fact that it showed that if we have fast midfielders and quick defenders, we can cover way more ground, we can be way more creative, and we can score a lot of goals and great goals for fans to enjoy. Exciting play. When we have midfielders that kind of bog down the game, it allows the other team to wait for their chance and counterattack because they know that those slow midfielders can't catch up and they can't track back fast enough to cover the ground that's necessary to stop them from getting a chance on goal. And that puts pressure on our goalkeepers, whether it's PTJ or somebody else. And I think against Jamaica, we saw what happens when we have creative midfielders that can get forward in a hurry, but also can track back in a hurry. We have Naomi Girma, sure, she covers 70% of the world, but the other 30% have to be there too. And her teammates need to be able to track back and play defense and clear out any chances before they really develop. And against Jamaica, I felt like we were able to do that. And Jamaica's way more athletic than China was. China's a little bit more of a technical team, and they got a lot more chances on goal than Jamaica did because I think our midfield was slow enough that they were able to really rip it apart. And if there's a great pass to get behind the defense, we weren't able to react to that well. I think we did a much better job against that Jamaica for that. So that's something for Emma Hayes to decide. I think for me, I would love the faster, creative midfielders to be a part of this in the starting 11 and also off the bench, because I think they provide us with the most cover and allows for us to go forward, try some creative stuff on the offensive end. But if we lose the ball, we're able to get back and we're able to recover. And I think you saw a more dominant performance against Jamaica than we did in the 3-0 win against China. That'll do it for the women's side of things. They will be back at the end of the month for another window, and we will talk about their roster when it comes out later on this month. But for now, let's take a quick break. On the other side, the men's national team are preparing for friendlies against Turkey and Switzerland, and the Gold Cup roster, the official Gold Cup roster, has been announced. We will talk about who made it after this.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
Hey everyone, are you looking for the latest gear for your U.S. national teams, Major League Soccer, the NWSL, or any other team in the world of soccer? The USA SoccerCast has affiliate partnerships that are ready to help you out. Head to linktree.com/USA SoccerCast, where we have links to Homage, Fanatics, the MLS store, and Breaking Team. You can get the jersey, shirt, hat, or accessory you're looking for to support your team, while also saving some money and helping this show in the process. Again, linktree.com/USA SoccerCast. Click on the links and get your gear. And we thank you as always for your support of the show. We are back, and we shift our attention to the men's national team. They are preparing for friendlies against Turkey tomorrow as we record on Friday, June 6th. I will be in Hartford for that, so if you see me, please say hello. They also will be playing Switzerland on June 10th in Nashville. After that, the 2025 CONCACAF Gold Cup is upon us. That begins next weekend with the men playing on Father's Day, opening up on June 15th in San Jose. We had a training camp roster, which has been amended several times, and we've talked about some of the guys who did not make the team, or in the case of Christian Pulisic, asked to be excused from the team due to rest. There have been some changes due to injury, but now we have the official Gold Cup roster. And I want to read that roster because there is a notable omission from that roster from the guys who had been in camp over the past week. Our goalkeepers, Chris Brady, Matt Freese, and Matt Turner. Your defenders, Max Arfston, Alex Freeman, Nathan Harriel, Mark McKenzie, Tim Ream, Chris Richards, Miles Robinson, John Tolkien, and Walker Zimmerman. Your midfielders, Brendan Aronson, Tyler Adams, Sebastian Berhalter, Johnny Cardoso, Luca De La Torre, Diego Luna, Jack McGlynn, Quinn Sullivan, and Malik Tillman. And your forwards, Paxton Aronson, Patrick Ajabang, Damian Downs, Brian White, and Haji Wright. Now, one guy who was in camp this week that I did not mention is Serginho Dest. And it was the biggest news on the roster that Serginho Dest will not be a part of the Gold Cup team. He had just returned to the national team after a knee injury kept him off the field for much of the past year. His return thwarted by not being physically ready to go for the Gold Cup. And per Mauricio Pochettino, a statement, he reads, quote, "We determined the best decision is for Dest to have an individualized training program for the summer so that he can focus on being fully recovered and ready to perform next season." End quote. Now, him being gone for a year and coming back, it makes sense that he would show up for training camp. The team gives him a look over and says, "Hey, you're doing great, but you're not quite ready to go for this yet." And, putting 8 matches really under you in the course of a month, probably not great for your progress. So let's hold you out and thank you for coming. Here's your program for the summer and let's get you ready for next season because we're going to need you. The fact that he was able to show up with that question mark hanging above him, at least to me, makes it look even sillier that Christian Pulisic didn't even show up for the training camp. And if you look at the number of guys who have showed up just to be released due to injury or fitness, it could have easily been done in his case as well, but it wasn't. And him not being here adds to the pressure of this remaining roster to try and win the Gold Cup while having to answer all these questions about him not being in camp. I also did not mention, I should say, Zach Steffen. Zach Steffen was in camp. He was released a couple of days ago due to injury. So we are down to 3 goalkeepers, Chris Brady, Matt Freese, and Matt Turner, of which Matt Turner is likely to be the number 1 when we line up on the field for the opening of the Gold Cup. Another player whose status was in question is midfielder Johnny Cardoso. There have been several reports that have linked him with a transfer to Atletico Madrid. As I mentioned, I hope that doesn't happen on a personal level because a la Madrid. But Atleti is competing in the FIFA Club World Cup, and that takes place obviously at the same time as the Gold Cup. Should a move have gone through in time, Johnny would have had to leave the national team to join Atletico because the FIFA Club World Cup, in the eyes of FIFA, take precedence over the Gold Cup, and club teams did not have to allow players to leave for the Gold Cup if they were playing in the Club World Cup. So the thing about that is it's still a possibility that he could end up with Atletico Madrid. But as it stands right now, his inclusion on the roster means that even if a transfer is finalized, he would not join Atleti until after the Gold Cup. So I think that's a great development to have Johnny Cardoso in this camp again, a guy who has a lot of experience for this team, a young guy who can partner either alongside Tyler Adams or in his place if they are doing kind of a switch from the substitutes bench. I think that is having him in camp and having him on this roster really helps this team. Because as I mentioned, there's not a lot of stars on this team that we are used to seeing on a regular basis. The roster features 4 players who are in national team camp for the first time. Alex Raymond, Quinn Sullivan, Sebastian Berhalter, and Damian Downs have not been in a national team camp before now. They are now on a Gold Cup roster. Also included, as I mentioned, Brendan and Paxton Aronson, the 9th set of brothers ever capped by the men's national team, and they hope to become the 2nd set of brothers to play on the field together for the national team, hopefully in one of these games coming up, whether it be the friendlies or in the Gold Cup. I mentioned some of the guys on the team that have experience, but there's only 5 guys on this roster that have played in the Gold Cup before. That surprised me. Matt Turner, Tim Ream, Miles Robinson, Walker Zimmerman, and John Tolkien, who debuted in 2023. Tyler Adams, as long as he's been on the national team, has not played in a Gold Cup, whether because he's been hurt or because it was that off year where they decided to not bring their A lineup. So all of these players, it's a chance to get Gold Cup experience, but also it's a chance to play themselves into the conversation for 2026. This is the final competition they will have before they co-host the World Cup next summer. And so it's about getting out there and once again trying to inspire a fan base, a nation that, hey, we are making progress, that we have some fighters, we have some dogs on this team. And when the World Cup happens, don't you worry, we'll be ready to go. These guys have that opportunity to channel the magic of 2021, right? 2021 was a team that had no business winning the Gold Cup, but did. And also, and thanks to Michael Cameron from US Soccer for pointing this out in one of the press conferences last week, in Gold Cups that occur the year before a World Cup, someone from that Gold Cup roster with 5 or fewer caps entering the tournament has made the World Cup roster. So we have 2 friendlies remaining, but right now there are 14 guys on this roster that have 5 or fewer caps. So get familiar with those names because statistics show that it's likely at least one of them will be on the team that represents the United States against the world next summer. That will do it for episode 156 of the USA Soccer Cast. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, you can find us on Blue Sky and YouTube. Follow us both at USA Soccer Cast. Subscribe, rate, and review our shows. It helps us get in front of new people, and it's greatly appreciated. Tell your friends about us. And then finally, check out our affiliate links in our stimulus store. We have everything you need to watch the beautiful game and follow your teams, and your support helps support the show. We'll talk to you again soon, y'all. Peace.